You know what's funny? Your brain lies to you. Not occasionally. Not when you're stressed. Not when you're emotional. No, it lies to you constantly. Effortlessly. Like it's breathing. And the craziest part? You don't even notice. You walk around believing every thought that pops into your head, like your brain is some loyal advisor. When really, it's more like that shady friend who swears he knows a shortcut and ends up getting everyone lost. But you trust it anyway, because it's your brain, because you think you're rational, stable, self-aware, cute. You want the truth. Your brain is a magician, a flawless illusionist. It shows you what it wants. It hides what it wants. And the illusion you fall for the hardest, the one that ruins relationships, destroys opportunities, and keeps you stuck in the same loop year after year, is the illusion that your thoughts are reality. They're not. They're just noise. Electrochemical hallucinations you take way too seriously. And the moment you understand that, the moment you stop worshiping every stupid story your mind tells you, that's the moment you start to wake up. But most people never do. They never question the spell. They never see through the trick. They just keep reacting, panicking, overthinking, drowning, and calling it being human. So today we're going to break the illusion apart, piece by piece, until you see the truth underneath it. And trust me, you might not like what you discover, but you'll never forget it. Let's start with the most uncomfortable fact you're probably not ready to hear. You're not the voice in your head. You're the one listening to it. Yeah, I know. Sound dramatic, almost spiritual. But think about it for a second. If you were the voice, you could control it. You could make it say useful things, calm things, intelligent things. But instead, your mind wakes up every morning and immediately starts behaving like a drunk radio host who hasn't slept in 3 days. It jumps from fear to fantasy to insecurity to random memories from 2014 that nobody asked for. And you just listen, like it's the news. Your brain throws a thought at you. I bet they don't like you. You go, oh damn, that's probably true. It whispers, you're falling behind. You panic like someone just announced the apocalypse. It says, you're not good enough. And you don't debate it. You don't question it. You just accept it as fact. Why? Because the illusion works. Because your brain is designed to sound convincing, even when it's talking absolute garbage. Here's the part no one tells you. Your brain doesn't care about your happiness. It cares about your survival, which means it constantly overestimates threats, exaggerates problems, and imagines worst-case scenarios like it's auditioning for an anxiety-themed Netflix special. And you fall for it, over and over again, because the voice sounds familiar, because it sounds like you, but it's not you. It's the leftover programming of a creature that used to live in caves and run from shadows. And here you are, living in a modern world with ancient software. Of course you overthink. Of course you doubt yourself. Of course your mind freaks out over things that didn't even happen. Your brain is doing what it evolved to do. The problem is you think it's doing what you want. And that's the illusion. Your thoughts are suggestions, not orders. Signals, not truths. Noise, not identity. The moment you stop believing everything your mind says is the moment you stop being controlled by it. But don't worry, we're just getting started. You ever notice how your brain never lies in your favor? It never wakes you up like, hey, just so you know, you're actually doing better than you think. Or, relax, you're not behind. Everyone else is just pretending. No, your mind prefers the toxic stuff, the dramatic stuff, the stuff that grabs you by the throat. Your brain is a professional pessimist, an Olympic-level catastrophizer. It sees a minor problem and goes, what if we make this existential? And the worst part? You believe it. Instantly. Automatically. Like a reflex. Why? Because your brain has one job. Keep you alive. Not happy. Not confident. Not mentally stable. Just alive. So it lies. It exaggerates. It invents disaster because it thinks fear will protect you. And you don't even question it. You treat every intrusive thought like a weather report. Your brain whispers. They're judging you. You tense up. Your stomach drops. Your breathing gets shallow. All because a random neuron decided to fire at the wrong moment. Your mind says, you're not enough. And immediately you shrink. Your posture collapses. Your energy disappears. Just because a thought, a literal electrical blip, told you a story. You don't stop and ask, is this true? You react like it's undeniable fact. Do you know how insane that is? Imagine if your friend lied to you 500 times a day. Would you trust them? Would you let them run your life? Would you let them decide how you feel about yourself? No. You'd block them, mute them, change your number, move to another country. But your brain, that liar, you let it sit in the front row. You let it narrate your future. You let bully you. And it gets worse. Your brain doesn't just lie. It lies with confidence. It lies with tone. It lies with emotion. That's why the fear feels real. That's why the overthinking feels necessary. That's why the insecurity feels logical. Your brain serves you garbage and then seasons it with certainty. And you swallow a whole. Here's the uncomfortable truth. You don't suffer because life is hard. You suffer because your brain is untrained, wild, untouched, never questioned, never challenged. You act like your thoughts are royalty, when they're actually spam, pop-ups, glitches, static with an attitude problem. And until you learn to see them that way, your brain will keep controlling your reactions, your moods, your choices, your relationships, your self-worth. Because the lies don't stop. They just get more sophisticated. The trick isn't to silence the voice. That's impossible. The trick is to recognize it for what it is. A paranoid survival machine doing its best and failing miserably in modern society. Once you see that, once you stop treating every thought like a prophecy, you become dangerous, untouchable, unmanipulable, because the world can't break a person who no longer believes their own mental fiction. And trust me, your brain hates that kind of freedom. You ever realize how most of your suffering isn't caused by reality, but by the story you tell yourself about reality? Something small happens, a text left unseen, a weird look from someone, a slow response, a mistake you made, and your brain immediately turns it into a 3-season psychological thriller. You don't just think, oh, I didn't reply. No, your brain goes full Shakespeare. They hate you. They're disappointed. You messed up. You're not enough. You're losing them. And here's the part you never question. Why does your mind always pick the worst interpretation possible? Because fear feels safer than uncertainty. Your brain would rather torture you with dark conclusions than let you sit with I don't know yet. Because I don't know requires patience. And your brain? It'd rather jump off a cliff than be patient. You know what it's like? It's like you're locked in a room the size of your skull. And the person guarding the door is the same one who's whispering nightmares in your ear. Let me put it plainly. Most people don't live in the real world. They live in a mental prison they built themselves. Brick by brick, fear by fear, assumption by assumption. And the craziest part? They hold the keys, but never open the door. Because suffering is familiar. And familiar feels safe. And safe feels easier than change. Your brain loves routine misery. It's comfortable. Predictable, like rewatching the same depressing movie, because at least you know what happens. But the prison gets tighter as you get older. The walls close in. The story gets darker. The lies get louder. And one day, you wake up realizing this brutal truth. Nothing is actually holding you back. Not people, not circumstances, not fate, not bad luck. Just you, your thoughts, your fear, your automatic belief in every mental disaster your brain invents. It's like trying to outrun a shadow. You can't escape the enemy because the enemy is inside the house. And the worst part? You think the thoughts are you. So you defend them, protect them, even when they're killing you from the inside. But listen, once you start to question them, once you stop letting your brain dictate the narrative, everything shifts. You start noticing how often your mind lies, how often it jumps to conclusions, how often it predicts doom and is wrong every single time. You start to see the illusion. You start to see the bars. You start to see the door open, unlocked, waiting. You realize you were never trapped, just convinced. And here's the harsh, freeing truth. Your brain isn't your enemy. It's just an overprotective prison guard who doesn't know when to shut up. And once you understand that, once you stop treating your thoughts like commands and start treating them like suggestions, the prison starts to fall apart. Not quickly, not dramatically, but quietly, softly, one brick at a time. And for the first time, You breathe without asking permission. There's a moment, and if you haven't lived it yet, you will, where everything slows down. Not because life became easier, but because you finally stopped running from the truth. You stopped blaming the universe. You stopped blaming your childhood. You stopped blaming circumstances, people, luck, timing. And for the first time, you look in the mirror and see the real villain of your story. Not the world, not your ex, not your past, not your parents, not society. You, not in a self-hate way, don't twist it, but in a holy SH*T. I'm the one blocking my own door type of way. It hits you that most of your problems didn't come from outside. They came from your hesitation, your fear, your procrastination, your overthinking, your excuses, your comfort zone, your emotional laziness, your addiction to feeling like a victim. It hits like a punch in the gut. The painful, liberating awareness that life didn't hold you back. You did. You avoided hard conversations. You stayed in situations that were killing you. You kept pretending you weren't ready. You postponed every dream until later. And later, by the way, is the most dangerous word on earth. You sabotaged yourself and called it being cautious. You doubted yourself and called it being realistic. You wasted days waiting for motivation and called it self-care. You stayed where you were miserable and called it stability. You see, humans are geniuses at lying to themselves. We're better at creating excuses than creating lives. But then something shifts. Maybe it's heartbreak. Maybe it's burnout. Maybe it's one bad day too many. Maybe it's a realization that time is moving and you're not. Whatever it is, the illusion cracks. You finally feel the weight of your own avoidance. You finally see how expensive your comfort zone has been. And for the first time, you hear a voice inside you say, if I don't change now, I'm going to waste my life. And that sentence, it either wakes you up or breaks you. Because here's the truth. You only start living when you stop negotiating with your own weakness. When you stop giving your fears a seat at the table. When you stop feeding your doubts like pets. When you stop treating desire like a plan and start treating discipline like oxygen. That's the moment things finally begin. Not when you feel confident, because confidence comes last. Not when you feel ready, because you never will. Not when things are perfect, because they never are. Life begins the second you choose action. Over anxiety, responsibility, over excuses, growth, over comfort. And here's the twist. The beautiful, ironic twist. Once you stop being the obstacle, you finally realize the world wasn't against you. It was waiting for you, patiently, silently, annoyed maybe, but waiting. Waiting for you to get out of your own way, so it could finally open doors that were never locked. Because the truth is simple. The version of you that you want to become is already possible. What's missing isn't potential. It's courage. It's consistency. It's honesty. You don't need permission. You need responsibility. You don't need validation. You need direction. You don't need more time. You need to stop wasting the time you already have. And once you see this clearly, you're never the same again. Because now you know, your life won't change when the world changes. Your life changes when you do. You know what's funny? People keep saying, I'll do it later, as if later is some magical VIP room waiting just for them. Newsflash, later is where dreams go to die. Let me guess, you're the type who says, I'll start working on myself tomorrow. I'll fix my habits next week. I'll chase my goals when life calms down. Buddy, life isn't going to calm down. You are, and not in a good way. It's almost ridiculous, isn't it? How you'll post motivational quotes, watch self-improvement videos, write down goals in a notebook you'll never touch again. But when it comes to acting, silence, nothing, complete Wi-Fi off mode. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Your problem isn't lack of time. It's lack of courage. You're scared of starting because then you can't hide behind excuses anymore. When you start, results become your responsibility. And responsibility terrifies people more than failure. Because if you fail after trying, you can't blame your childhood, the weather, your ex, or Mercury being in retrograde. So let me slap you with one sentence you can't escape from. If you don't start now, you will hate yourself later. Not dramatically, not suddenly, but slowly, day after day. Seeing people move ahead while you stay exactly where you are. pretending later is still an option. Here's the uncomfortable twist. It's already later. Right now, this moment. You are living in the later you promised last year. So what now? Another excuse? Another delay? Another round of, I'm waiting for the right time? No, you don't need more time. You need more honesty. And it starts here. Now, with you choosing to take one action, any action, before this day ends. Because if you don't, congratulations. You just scheduled another appointment with regret. Let's be honest for a second. You're not stuck. You're not lost. You're not waiting for a sign. You're just comfortable. Painfully, embarrassingly comfortable. And comfort? It's the most dangerous addiction nobody warns you about. Because it doesn't ruin your life in one big explosion. It destroys you quietly. Comfort tucks you in, kisses your forehead, and whispers, "Shit don't grow today." You say you want a better life. But do you really? Because everything you claim to want lives outside your comfort zone. Confidence? Outside. Self-discipline? Outside. That version of you with a sharp jawline, better habits, more money, a stronger mind? Yeah, also outside. But you? You'd rather stay inside, the psychological equivalent of a warm blanket. Scrolling, dreaming, thinking, never doing. Let me put it brutally simple. Your comfort zone is not a safe place. It's a trap, a beautiful trap, with soft walls, warm lighting, and free Wi-Fi. But a trap nonetheless. You don't grow because growth feels like friction, and you're allergic to friction. You want results without resistance, progress without discomfort, evolution without pain. Basically, you want to become a stronger human, while avoiding everything that makes humans stronger. That's like wanting abs, without giving up the midnight snacks. Come on, here's the part you hate hearing. Your comfort zone is shrinking your life. Every day, you choose easy, you make yourself weaker. Every day you postpone effort. Your goals move further away. Not because they're hard, but because you won't move. And the worst part? Deep down, you know I'm right. You feel it every night before you sleep. That tiny whisper saying, you could be so much more, but you're choosing not to. Listen to that voice. Not the one telling you to stay where it's warm and familiar, but the one reminding you that the life you want is right there, just one uncomfortable step away. So here's your challenge. Do one thing today that makes you uncomfortable. One tiny act that breaks the routine. Because growth doesn't come from comfort. It comes from friction, pressure, and movement. And the moment you stop choosing comfort, that's the moment your life finally starts expanding again.